Why my eyes, sir? You've never used them before.
I was not the first one to go in. There were others before me, quite a few of them. Each one would get their turn, go into the office, while the rest of us waited in a stately decorated hallway. The meeting took place in the Oval Office, but it was darkly lit. The room had ambient lighting, the large executive desk at the head of the room, and shiny dark wood floors. Not the Oval Office that I remember from photographs. When it was my turn to go in, I was a tiny bit nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I was honored to be one of the chosen, but felt ordinary and couldn't imagine what purpose this would serve. I was led into the spacious office by two men in suits, who I assumed were Secret Service. Standing in front of the office was Obama with a very calm and welcoming smile. Michelle was there, arms crossed, looking very stern and intimidating. There were other suits there, officials and some Secret Service, I assumed. Obama was very calming. His face had a gentle, welcoming smile. His eyes were somewhat soft, as if he was a professional at putting people at ease in his presence. Michelle, on the other hand, stood there with arms crossed, angry brows turned into a very intimidating stare, a high contrast to Obama's demeanor. I was afraid of her. Her serious and angry laser beam stare intimidated me and made me very uneasy. I was led toward the front of the desk where two stately wooden chairs were placed facing each other. They seated me in the chair on the left. Obama sat in the chair on the right. He maintained that calm gentleness and appeared genuinely interested in what I had to say, but I could feel that this was just a front. He was very good at keeping up this front. That was very apparent. Expert level, actually. But in appearance, he was able to create a genuine-looking calm concern. I did feel calm around him. That's the weird thing about it. I'm not easily persuaded or moved by others' actions or demeanor. Obama expertly made an unnerving situation remarkably calm, almost like a spell. I was dressed appropriately and professionally. Navy pantsuit, crisp white blouse, nothing dramatic or overly fancy. I wanted to maintain a professional demeanor and speak in a calm, articulate manner. I had 2 minutes of the president's attention. I wanted to use it wisely, say what I wanted to say, and then leave at the appropriate time. He told me to speak candidly, that he wanted to know the heart of the people who didn't believe in his ideas. He wanted me to speak honestly and tell him my true thoughts. Again, his gentleness made it seem genuine, even though I didn't believe it was genuine. So I began to speak. I don't remember what I was saying, but when I started to speak, I was focused on being articulate and calm, professional, and to the point. But after the words started to flow, I found myself very upset, pouring my heart out in an emotional, tearful spew. I saw what I was doing and told myself to calm down, to get it together, that I was embarrassing myself in front of the president, the first lady, and all of the other people in the room. But I couldn't stop. I just spewed my guts out, my true heartfelt feelings and opinions, my fears and dreads about everything Obama had intended to do. He calmly raised his hands in a motion for me to settle down. His face still maintained that quiet sweetness. My tirade didn't rattle him at all. He was steady, his calm control unshaken. Tears flowing, I felt like a scared schoolgirl crying out in desperation, pleading with him to stop what he was planning, to turn to God, to please not move forward with his destructive plan. When my 2 minutes were up, I immediately composed myself, was politely assisted out of my chair by one of the men in suits. Obama shook my hand, smiled, and thanked me for my time. I was led out of the room, and the dream ended. Now you have to understand, I've been on this earth for 5 decades and have never dreamt of a president in my entire life. Not once. It was an odd display. It felt foreign to me. A surprise. Something that seemed way outside of what my brain would normally produce. Now remember, this was 5 years ago, back in 2012. I looked on the internet to see if anyone else had dreams of Obama or similar dreams and was shocked to see thousands upon thousands of people having dreams about him. Having a dream about the president doesn't seem too extraordinary. We see politics in the news every day. Serious events unfold in the world daily. So dreaming of the president didn't seem too unusual in that regard. What was unusual was the theme of the dream. The spell of calmness that Obama cast upon me. The extremely intimidating demeanor of Michelle. The deep-seated, powerful emotions that burst forth like a floodgate, as if my normal ability for restraint was completely removed, and everything I truly felt, feared, and believed about these people came gushing forth with no ability to control it. That I immediately composed myself after unleashing all of that at precisely the end of the 2 minutes. I felt manipulated, controlled, like my faculties and restraint were removed for 2 minutes and my true, unfiltered thoughts and feelings were purged and on display for the president and everyone in the room to see whether I wanted them to or not. This was a violation, almost like being emotionally raped and exposed, like they reached fists inside my soul and ripped out its contents, and when the 2 minutes were up, I was fully composed, calmly got out of my chair, strangely detached from what just occurred, and left the room in the same fashion that I had walked in. That is what was unusual about this dream. The Obama dream phenomenon continues. It has not relented one bit, but the tone and theme is increasing in intensity. Now the social justice warriors will tell you that at the root of this is deep-seated bigotry and racism. But after viewing many videos of personal testimonies, it was clear to see that this has nothing to do with race and everything to do with Christianity. Christians are being given powerful dreams and visions about Obama, and none of them had good things to report. Hundreds upon hundreds of personal accounts of dreams, sometimes reoccurring, of Obama that span across different races, ages, demographics, and ethnicities. The only thing they all had in common was their faith. They were all born-again Christians. The reason I'm doing this video is not about the fascinating numbers of people having the dreams. That's an important part of this message, but the reason I'm doing this video is because of the similarities in the dreams. They all have common themes, so similar in nature that it speaks much less about random societal effects of a sitting president with radical views and plans, and much more about something very supernatural taking place. This isn't a collective set of random dreams. This is a message, a profound one, about a president who was, is not now, and will more than likely be again.
This dream was early this morning, but it's about Obama. I was not thinking about Obama or anything like that. I actually had other stuff in my mind, but I do want to say in the beginning of the dream, this does not make sense to me at all, but somebody was trying to show me how the world was kind of upside down. Not literally, not like the actual earth turned upside down, but they were just showing me all these different gadgets, and they were playing music backwards, and they were trying to show me how the world is like a duality. I don't know why they were showing me that, but it was crazy because like they were showing me how it was in everything. It was in music, people's personalities. I really cannot explain it the way I saw it in the dream. It was just something very strange about that, and I don't know what that means. It was one face, and then it was like there was another face, and they were contrary to one another, but the face was not a literal face. It was like the world and everything that consists of it. I really can't explain it. They were showing me how, like, they were playing this song to me, and then they played it backwards, or they reversed it, and it was a totally different message. I don't know why God showed me that. I really can't even explain it, but it's a part of everybody. It's a part of the system, and everybody's deceived. These people, I guess it was the government, they came to my house. They came to my house, and It was probably 4 to 6 people. They were men, and they were very intimidating men. And they had this teleprompter, and they came to me and they asked me, or they wanted to affirm if I had ever spoken anything negative about Barack Obama. And on the teleprompter, when I tell you they had every single word I've ever spoken about that man, and everything I may have said about him via net, maybe a phone call, it doesn't matter. They had it just like worded, on the teleprompter, and I was just reading it. And I was intimidated, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared, and I was intimidated, but in the back of my head, I'm just like, this is too funny, because I really don't care for Obama, and I don't like him. Everybody was so intimidated by these men. I remember my aunt was in the dream, and for some reason, me and my aunt and my cousin, we were arguing about secular music, and why it's not okay for Christians to listen to it. I don't know what that was about, but she was in the house in the dream, and she got scared. She wasn't trying to support me or defend me or, come to my aid while these men were talking to me, because she buckled, she was afraid of the government. That's what she did. She was quiet the whole time and just continued washing dishes. But while they were asking me that, did you say that? And I could just tell by the tone of their voice, there was a consequence. There was a very horrific consequence if you were to say yes. Yes, I did say that about Obama. No, I don't like him. And for some reason, I felt that even if they had proof that you said and did these things, if you were to tell them, no, I never said that, they would have left you alone. So you would have kind of surrendered to them in a way. But I stood there and I just felt, I could feel it. I was just like, this is the breaking point right here. This is where I choose if I'm going to die for Christ or not. Because that's really what it was all about. I don't know if they were just coming to Christians or anybody who says something bad about Obama, but I stood there, and I was shaking when I said it. I said, yeah, I said that. I'm sorry. And it's just so funny. I had like so many different thoughts going on at the same time, because I was scared for my life. I knew they were going to kill me. I knew they were going to do something bad to me. And then, there's the thought, I don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to do it. And it was kind of like God just allowed me to feel all that different stuff at one time. I knew that if I were to say, no, I never said that, or I don't feel that way about Obama anymore, I like Obama, they would have left me alone. It's not what I said, though. I was scared. I was alone. My family didn't even have my back, obviously. I think that's what that was probably symbolic in the dream. Because my aunt, she was just quiet. She wasn't trying to help me or anything. And, I don't know if this is really going to happen in real life, or it was just the whole dream was just symbolic, in its own way. But, I mean, we already know that your family's going to betray you. The Bible even tells us that in the last days. Your family's not going to have your back. That's when the true children of God and the fakes are going to be exposed. But I was shaking. And I don't remember if Obama was there. I don't remember if he was there physically. I did have an image of him sitting down in his suit with his legs crossed, and he had like that arrogant look on his face that he always has. And he was just watching and listening. Like a powerful, some type of dictate. I don't know. He got issues, period. But anyway, he was there. His presence was there. Whether his body was there or not, I could feel him. I knew he was watching and he was listening. He was watching everything that was going on. And I said, yeah, I did say that. I admitted, that's my words. I did say I don't like Obama. I did say all that stuff, so I said that. And they took me to some land. We were already there, though. It looked kind of like a desert. I really can't explain it. It was just dry land. Nothing was really around. And I remember there were a few people, not a lot of people, very few people who had done the same thing, and they didn't submit themselves to Obama. They stood their ground. They stood up for Jesus, and they said, yeah, I did say that. No, I'm not going to submit to your government. Whatever they told him. They sent us all to this land, and I don't want to say there was a guillotine, but I saw something. I don't know if it was a guillotine or beheading or what it was, and you have to excuse me, I'm kind of sick, but they were going to do something to us. And I remember my dad was in the dream, and it was really weird. Like, one minute we were in a land, and the next minute we were back in a house. I don't know what the heck that was about, but I remember my dad, when I came back, kind of had this like, accomplished attitude. Like, yeah, I did it, you know. But my family was not helping me at all. My dad made a comment in the dream, said, they're going to kill Brandy. They're about to kill her. He didn't even know what they had did when they took me back there. But it was like everybody already kind of had an understanding of what was going on. And it was like I rebelled against the system. So now I'm in trouble.
The Lord shared with me a dream about Obama. And it was so brief. And I'm going to go ahead and share it right now. So, I was in an auditorium of some sort, almost like a theater, where the seating goes up, like the seating's at an incline, and Obama, he's sitting above a couple rows above where I'm sitting, and he has, and this is such a common theme in my dreams, he doesn't have any expression. He's usually just really with like a straight face, and it's hard to really feel him. Like there's so many dreams where I've had where, like, in the last 2 dreams that I've had, where he's just, he feels like he's empty. Like he had that straight, serious look on his face. And I remember that I was looking back, like I was looking up at the row that he was sitting in, and he was just staring at me like this. Like he just had so much hate. Like I felt the hate that he had for me, personally. And I knew that he was a representation of Satan. That he was so evil. Without even sharing words, without even getting much of an expression from his face, I knew in the spirit that this man is just so evil, and he just has so much hate and anger, and there were people around us, and this auditorium was not filled up, and I don't even know, it seems like we were waiting for a show to start. We were waiting for, and I never saw a stage, I just saw the auditorium with like the seating. That's it. I never saw a stage, but we were waiting for something to take place. We were waiting. I don't even know what we were waiting on, but for that time of space that we had before the show started, I'll just say it like that, just simply before the show starts, I'm looking at him and I'm analyzing him, and he is doing the same thing to me. He is looking at me and analyzing me. Like he already knows I stand for Christ, and I already know that he stands for Satan. And I'm looking at him and I just start shouting, Jesus Christ is Lord. Jesus Christ is the King. And then I'm shouting it almost to let Obama know, oh, yeah, this is what I stand for. This is my belief. This is in me. This is in my heart. And like nobody can take that away. And the people that were around us, I'm shouting it as in the feeling that I got. I'm shouting it because I want them to hear the truth. I want to proclaim my faith so that others may proclaim theirs. I felt like we were being silenced. Like we were in silence around Obama. I don't know how to explain it because there weren't really words being shared, but it was all feelings, like a knowing. And so I kept shouting, Jesus Christ is Lord, Jesus Christ is King, Jesus Christ is my Savior. Like I'm just shouting, Jesus Christ. And then Obama gets up out of his seat, and then he makes his way down to the road where I'm sitting, and then I start singing. And the shouting turns into praise. It turns into singing. I was just singing praise while Obama's approaching me, and I'm showing Obama I'm not afraid of Satan. I have no fear but love for Jesus. Or whatever you want to do to me, I don't care. Like, that's what it felt. It was so strong in my spirit. I had so much courage. Like, I was so brave about it because Jesus is in me. And then so Obama, he approaches me, and his facial expressions are just so angry. Like, he's so angry with me. And then he has a whip. All of a sudden, he has a black whip in his hand. And I'm sitting there on my chair, and he's whipping me. And it hurts. Actually, I feel the sting. I feel the pain on my body as he's doing this. And I'm still singing. I'm still singing that the Lord Jesus Christ is my King. He is my King. He is my rock. And like, I'm just singing what I feel in my spirit. Like, I'm just singing praise while he's whipping me. And each whip it did not feel good. And it was painful. And I usually don't feel pain in my dream, but I felt pain. But it was tolerable. But it's because my faith was so strong that was the only thing making it tolerable, was my faith. Like, Obama was whipping me. Like, this is the first time that he's ever attacked me. And I knew when he was doing this that he was Antichrist. Like, I knew it before he attacked me, that he was Antichrist. And like, he is the Antichrist. I don't care. I'll say it over and over because this is what the Lord is showing me. After he whipped me, it was like 10 times that he whipped me. He stopped. It's like, and then he backed off. Like, he gave up on persecuting me. Like, there's no point. And he knew that there was no more point to it. Like, he didn't do anything else to me. He actually backed off and walked away. And then I started going back to shouting that Jesus Christ is King, Jesus Christ is Lord.
Hey guys, I got a dream I gotta share with you guys. I'm gonna make it quick because the real reason I didn't think this was a dream that I had to share, but I just saw this girl's video today, and I'm like, I had to share my dream because her dream is pretty much a continuation of mine. And it freaked me out because right where my dream ended is where hers started. The name of the dream is called, there it is, Dream from the Lord. Obama / persecution coming. And I'm going to make mine quick because I want y'all to just see how these fit together. Because I believe the Lord is giving everybody bits and pieces for us to come together. And because, you know, Jesus always prayed that we would be one as he and the Father is one. And since him and the Father was one, he didn't lack nothing. This girl had her dream starts in the auditorium pretty much. And I had a dream on January 19th, 2017. And I'll read it. I dreamt that I titled it Dream About Scoffers. I dreamt that I had no shoes on and I was walking through various rooms. Now, each room represented a different place. So, it was like a room. All these rooms were next to each other. For example, one was a movie theater, and one was like a fancy dinner, like kind of like a gala. If y'all know what a gala is. Something fancy with rich people and wine. I had dirty clothes on and no shoes. And I had a book under my arm. I'm pretty sure it was the Bible because I was holding on to it for dear life, like hardcore like that. With one hand. So I started walking through these places, and every place I would walk through, I'd just be walking fast, like fast, and I keep my face straight, and I was saying, Jesus is coming, Jesus is coming. That's all I was saying and walking. I wasn't talking, I wasn't doing nothing else but keeping my face straight and walking through these crowds, keep saying this. Each room, I walked through a crowded room, each room had a crowd. I walked through a crowded room, and everywhere I went, they was mocking me. Everywhere I went. And it was saying some hurtful things, like if you easily offended, I strongly suggest you start working on that. I'm working on it because if you easily offended, you ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna make it because they were saying things that were so hurtful. I almost remembered what it was that they were saying. Like when I was waking up, it just barely slipped my mind. I almost could tell you word for word. But it wasn't like you know how we read in the Bible and we see like, oh, and they mocked him to scorn, or they mocked him to scorn. You think like, oh yeah, they teased him. Like it's, the words that they used to describe that they were mocking Jesus, we would be like, oh yeah, you know, because we don't really understand. But when I tell you, the average, whatever it is that you can say to hurt people's feelings these days, curse words, calling them a B word, everything you could think of, they were saying to me while I was walking through these crowds. And if you didn't have Jesus, you would have been offended and you would have just stopped because it hurt. Like it hurt. While I was walking through the things they were saying, they was name the pettiest person in your family, and they can't compare to what these people were saying. But I just kept my eyes straight, and I was like, Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. So after I walked through a couple places, a few people started following me here and there. So the fancy, after about 2 places, I got to the fancy place with all the people dressed up fancy and drinking wine and stuff. And they were obviously rich. They were rich people. And so I was walking through there real fast saying the same thing. Jesus is coming. But it was people coming from different corners of the room to follow me. And they was like, she's right. She's right. Jesus is coming. Because they was mocking me. But finally, after doing all that walking, 4 people, must have been 4 or 5. But this room had at least 100 people in it. So out of 100 people, probably 4 or 5 people started following me and saying, she's right, Jesus is coming.
Today is Friday, January 20th, 2017. Just want to share a dream that I had. In this dream, I just saw Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. They were at some type of event. They were going down like a walkway, as like a runway, and then something happened. Now, my mind at that moment, this was immediately after Trump's inauguration, and the music changed. Something happened, and Barack and Michelle Obama turned around with a cape and like some capes on, like superheroes in a way. Not exactly. It's like they were celebrating something when they had on some outfits. But they had on some kind of outfits and had like some overcoats or something. Because when they swung around, they either Michelle's dress or coat swung out, kind of like a cape. But in the dream, I knew that they were turning around because the music changed from them going away to them saying, "Uh-oh, da-da-da-da, here we come, we're back." Okay, now I didn't hear them say that, but I knew. And all of a sudden, what they were walking on the runway, they were walking back toward an event, not leaving. And then everybody that was with them was going ahead of them. And I was looking at them as they were coming this way, headed back to the Oval Office. Okay, I knew they were headed back to where the celebration took place, or like an event took place, like the inauguration. The event that they were at, the world was cheering because they knew they were headed back to the White House. I seen more of Michelle than I did Barack. Immediately, I started saying, okay, I wanted to say I knew it, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't know where they were headed. So I just followed everybody. And I followed them back now. Now I'm at the event, at the inauguration, if you will, the after inauguration. Now I'm standing up on top of, not like really a building, but the bleachers, the seats, where everybody is seated. But I'm more on top of them. And I'm trying to look over to see what's going on. And I seen everyone, like the crowd that was celebrating Trump inauguration, now they were mourning. I was trying to listen to conversations, but I was looking at their faces. Their faces were grieved. And they said, the Trumps were great people. Who could have undermined and do such a thing? This was like on the news. This is kind of what I heard. I'm not sure why I heard the news, but I could hear the news. The Trumps were great people, and who could undermine and do such a heinous act? And I remember saying to myself, I knew it. I told you something was going to happen to where Trump was not going to be president. And I said, they're back. The Obamas are back. Praise the Lord, saints. Praise the living God, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Today is February 3rd, 2017. And I just want to share a dream that I just had. I don't have many Obama dreams, but I just feel led to share this dream. In the dream, I seen President Obama, and he was very large. He was just a large figure when I seen him. And he looked at me. And when he looked at me, it was just like me and him around. He said, "You said a lot of things about, basically about me and a lot of other presidents, and what do you have to say now?" Basically by him standing by me. And I said, I stand by what I say. I say any president that doesn't believe in God, we shouldn't stand behind him, or stand behind any man, rather, that do not believe in God. And then he kind of smirked, and he reached over at me, and he said, "Well, what about the Hebrew Israelites? And what about the Muslims?" And I said, the same thing. Anybody that don't believe in God, we should not stand by them. We should only stand by those who live by God, And I was like, and I told this other guy, I said, "Hey, he go the president." And they was like, he said, "I'm not the president anymore. I'm not that man anymore," or something like that. And then I noticed that he was putting down a trunk, and the trunk almost hit my head. I had to duck when he slammed the trunk. I remember I had to duck because he slammed the trunk looked like it was violently. And after that, I woke up.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. I have a dream that I want to share with you guys. A dream that I had February 1st, 2017. It was a dream of the Antichrist. I wrote it down. I wrote down all my dreams because it's very easy to forget your dreams by detail. So as soon as I wake up from a dream, even if it's at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, write it down. The devil comes and he wants you to forget. He doesn't want you to spread the dreams that the Lord gives you. So this is the dream I had. I had a dream that I was in a dark theater. Everything was black. I was the only one in there, and I was looking on stage, and there was light on stage, and there was big, huge curtains coming down, like laced curtains, so I could only see a little bit of what it was inside in the lights. And I saw a beast. It was a beast, he looked just like the beast from Beauty and the Beast. He had 2 horns, and he had hooves, and he was hairy. And I saw him, and I was watching him. He was getting ready. He put his cape on, and he did it very slowly, one by one. He put his cape on first, and then he put his crown on, and then the last thing he grabbed was a stick. And it was kind of like, in my dream, I was thinking it was like a stick of like ruling the world or something. And I think what the dream was this: the stage was ready for the Antichrist, and the Antichrist, which was the beast that I saw in my dream, he was getting ready. He was putting on his coat, he was putting on his crown, and the last thing he grabbed was his stick. And I believe that that was a dream from the Lord, and the Antichrist is ready to rule. And in my dream, I was thinking that it was Trump. That's what I was thinking in my dream. But when I woke up, I had in my heart that it was Obama. And I just kept thinking, Obama, and that Obama is coming back.
Okay, God bless. My name is Brother Jonathan Ko. I'm just going to give you all this word. On the 6th month of 2017, the 24th day, I had a vision. I saw Donald Trump, and I saw him standing behind a podium. And then I saw a net of what appeared to be possibly fish of some sort of a catch. And the Holy Spirit said, many believe that Trump is the Antichrist, namely the world. But he is not, and Obama is right behind him. And then I briefly saw Obama. As I said, I'm going to say it again. I had a vision. I saw Donald Trump, and I saw him stand behind a podium. Actually, I believe I was in prayer with my wife. And then I saw a net of what appeared to be possibly fish of some sort of a catch. I saw a net. Yeah, I was in prayer with my wife, and I saw Trump standing behind a podium. And then I saw a net of what appeared to be possibly a fish of some sort of a catch, some sort of a catch, like a net. And the Holy Spirit said, many believe that Trump is the Antichrist, namely the world. But he is not, and Obama is right behind him. And then I briefly saw Obama.
So I had a dream last night. It was really short, and I can only remember two main things. One, Obama came back as like a leader. I don't know if he came back as the president of the United States or the world leader. I don't remember that, but he was a leader. And when he came back, this darkness filled the land. And it was just creepy. It didn't feel like the same world, okay? So that's basically all I remember. I haven't really been giving Obama a whole lot of thought lately, but I have noticed that he's back in the spotlight, and it seems a little odd to me. But I don't know how things normally go with presidents. I've heard from others that it is strange, the amount of coverage on him lately. I mean, he's doing all these speeches. Like, he did a speech with Hitler's daughter, and anyone with eyes to see and ears to hear can see and hear the deception in that interview. It was basically trying to water down the Christian faith as much as possible, and they were literally talking about doubt as a good thing, saying in a really nice, soft way that Jesus isn't the only way to God, which is the new movement, like the ecumenist coexist movement. Jesus is the only way to God, by the way. And real Christians are going to stand on that truth, and real Christians are going to be hated for it. I mean, we're already hated for it. They call us, you know, intolerant and all this and that. It's like they'll tolerate anything but us. Obama's back in the spotlight. He's not the president or the world leader, but he does have this kind of unspoken power.
Speaking of concern, something you've been worried about, and you've spoken about this extensively, is how the government spies on us. And in fact, there's a Circus story. I'm going to just read the first paragraph of it for you in just a second. I did it this way. I did it the hard way. The NSA, under former President Barack Obama, routinely violated American privacy protections while scouring through overseas intercepts and failed to disclose the extent of the problems until the final days before Donald Trump was elected president last fall, according to once top-secret documents that chronicle some of the most serious constitutional abuses to date by the U.S. intel community.
This dates back to 2011.
And here's another headline report. Obama-era NSA admits to years of illegal searches on Americans. Yeah, see, I've been concerned about this for a long time and realize this is not just a few people. You think it's only people that are calling a foreign leader or a foreign person that are being picked up. If you mention a foreign person in your conversation or in your email, so if anybody mentions the name Assad in an email, it's being gathered up. And so it isn't just communications with Assad, it's communications about Assad. So we're talking about millions and millions of phone calls and emails that are being gathered up and then being searched with no sort of control over the privacy of the American. Sure. We call this a backdoor way to sort of get at Americans' privacy without using a warrant, and I think it's a terrible program.
Senator, explain, if you will, for people who just over their coffee, their jaws just dropped. So if you're talking on the telephone and you mention Assad or you mention some other one of the words that is in the matrix that they're searching for, that will, there's then, a red flashing light on that phone call?
Yeah, and realize it's not the old-fashioned wiretap where they've tapped your phone. There's a huge cable going transatlantic, or there's a way station where they're being transmitted by satellite. Everything's being sucked up. So if you can imagine millions of things going through the internet across the sea or across the continent to another continent, millions and millions of internet transmissions all being soaked up based on a keyword. So Americans get caught up in that, and I would say 99.9% of Americans are innocent. I'm all for going after people, even Americans, if you have evidence and you present it to a judge, but we shouldn't suck up everybody's phone calls and everybody's internet transmission. And the danger is, and one of the accusations of Susan Rice and others, is that they were looking at this information politically, searching opponents and going after people in the Trump transition to try to bring them down.
And maybe even you. So when you were a candidate.
So we've got breaking news. We had this information yesterday, but we wanted to dig a little bit deeper, and some of it got out last night. We were all trying to figure out why in the world all this information has been, who's getting access to this classified intelligence, because it used to be just the NSA. The National Security Agency had the administration, under an executive order signed by Ronald Reagan, everything went to them, and they decided if other agencies needed to see it. Well, this changes, and it literally changes in the very last hours of the Obama administration, which gives access now to 13 different agencies and their teams. So it changed dramatically the distribution and dissemination of classified information. So Professor Hutchinson's been working on this since yesterday. He found this. He found the rule change. I'm holding it for our friends on Facebook and Periscope. This is really serious. This is a really dangerous development, and it literally happened, Harry, in the last 13 days of the Obama administration, because it was not signed off by Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, until January 3rd.
Absolutely.
So what do we have here?
So I think, Jay, you are absolutely correct that government bureaucrats, particularly within the intelligence community, have launched a soft coup aimed at the Trump administration. As Eli Lake of Bloomberg reports, Michael Flynn's demise amounts to nothing less than a political assassination. This assassination required the active connivance of the Obama administration and their loyalists, and the news media, richly assisted by the intelligence community itself. It's very possible that members of the intelligence community have committed criminal misconduct in disclosing secret information.
I've got, by the way, just hold on for folks. No, we'll get into a whole discussion about the Espionage Act, because there's serious violations here. I mean, serious violations. The problem is, Harry, before, if you were going to investigate this, as Jason Chaffetz says they were going to, or as the Intelligence Committee would do, or the FBI, you had a very limited pool of people.
Absolutely.
Now that pool has expanded, 13-fold.
Yes, and that means that the possibility that leaks will occur has expanded exponentially.
Yeah. So there's more sources available to communicate. It doesn't mean what they did, by the way, was legal. I don't want to... That they got the information, these other agencies, may be legal under this new executive order amendment for the rules that were signed by President Obama's team. But the leaking of it doesn't... It's not legal to leak it still, but it gave more people access.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so Paul Sperry has suggested that President Obama, before he left office, created what might be called a shadow government, designed to protect his legacy and designed to subvert the incoming Trump administration. And so far, at least, it looks like it's succeeding.
All right, so here's what you've got. And then we get Dan involved in the conversation. And Logan, let's take a phone call here. The ACLU, just so everybody knows, the American Civil Liberties Union, has called the move an erosion of the rules intended to protect the privacy of Americans. Now, this was a change. Understand this. Since the 1980s, only the NSA had access to this information. That's the way it was. And they would determine where it would go. That was how it was set up. Now, under the new rules, signed by Loretta Lynch on January 3rd of this year, with basically, at that point, 17 days to go in the Obama administration, they changed it so 13 additional agencies had access to it. And as Harry said, this almost creates the ability of a shadow intelligence government from the Obama loyalists. And Fan, I know that this is getting reverberations on Capitol Hill, but this is a very, very serious situation.
Well, the worst time to make a change like this, Jay, and expand the sphere of people who can access information like this is when it's clear you cannot protect the information with the people that already have access to it. And we've seen that with leak after leak after leak. But listen, Jay, we have seen this timing issue on any number of issues. You think about Israel policy. You think about Russia policy. Time and time again, the Obama administration made a change that they were not willing to live under, so they made it right at the end of their term. And now the Trump administration is having to live under it. Listen, this is something that Mike Pompeo and the others that are coming in under Donald Trump, they are going to have to get a hold on this and get a hold on it fast.
Yeah, here's the problem, and this is, Harry, the problem is now the pool of people that you've got to go after is much broader. So Absolutely. Before it was, I mean, I heard a couple of friends of mine, former Justice Department lawyers, I know this is a former Treasury lawyer, when you had a pool of people that was narrow, just the NSA, that kind of clearance, it was a small group of people. So your investigative capability on a leak was much more restricted. This opens it up literally 13-fold, besides the fact that it was done at the last moment. So how serious is it? And underscore again, I think, for our audience, the importance of the fact that this creates a shadow intelligence agency.
Jay, you're absolutely right. So under the new procedures, someone in Intelligence Agency A could request raw signal intelligence. They could claim that it's necessary to advance a mission. So let's presume that this individual is an Obama loyalist.
Yep, which is a pretty good presumption.
And so they can request information concerning, for instance, General Flynn. On January the 12th, David Ignatius of the Washington Post broke a story about General Flynn, and that opened the floodgates.
Right.
So essentially what happened, I think, is that information was leaked. It was leaked to a compliant media, and the media then spread the story, and it has taken down General Flynn.
And they're aiming for others.
My fear is, and you're right, that they will attempt to take down additional Trump officials going forward.
I think we've got a soft coup. I think that's what this is within the intelligence agency.
Well, I've been covering a number of issues through the years that relate to what I'm going to talk to you about here on this broadcast. First of all, there are foreign troops on our soil in great numbers, and basically the 2011 agreement between the Russian Foreign Ministry and the Obama administration allowed for the first 15,000 Russian soldiers to come to our country. We know the Chinese are here in force. We also know that CalExit is a reality and that the international and domestic subversive forces have combined to try to remove California from the Union. We know that Eric Holder, former administration cabinet official of Obama, has gone to basically be the spokesperson and chief advisor and consultant to Governor Jerry Brown on CalExit. We know Valerie Jarrett has joined the movement and lent her support to it. Loretta Lynch has joined the movement. Barack Obama has a place now in Palm Springs. But right now, Barack Obama is taking up shop in Washington, D.C., and has an army of tens of thousands of people. Now, Eric Holder made a very interesting announcement today. Very interesting. And it said it should send shivers up and down everyone's spine. What he basically said is, get ready for the return of Obama. It's coming. He's coming, ready to roll.
So The Hill on Friday reported that President Obama will reemerge in the fall. And I'm thinking, I know somebody elated by that news. President Donald Trump. Go ahead and react.
Well, you know what? I know someone elated by that news, and his name's Tom Perez, because Barack Obama did so much to expand opportunity for so many people.